So with this video, I'm going to just talk about creating shapes in Illustrator. There are a lot of options for creating shapes, and you'll find many of the standard ones just under this shape button in the toolbox. So if you click on it, generally it opens up as the rectangular tool. And I'm just going to use my color palette to get some color in there, and I'll remove the stroke, of course. You know I'm not a big fan of stroke values for this course, and I'm going to use my HSB palette because that's the one I prefer to choose colors with. It makes it much easier for me to see the value and saturation if I use the HSB palette. Anyway, we'll start with something nice and strong. Okay, so that's the rectangular shape, and of course if you hold the shift key down when you're drawing a rectangle, it remains a square. Otherwise you can draw any kind of rectangle, but if you want a perfect square, then just hold the shift key down as you're dragging your mouse or drawing with your pencil on the tablet. Okay, so that's the rectangle tool. If you hold your mouse down as you're clicking on the rectangle tool, you'll see that there are many other options, and you can detach those options by clicking on this tear off button to the side there. You'll see you can get the option to draw a rounded cornered rectangle there, or square. Once again, if you hold the shift key down as you're doing the drawing, you'll get the perfect square. And if you want to adjust the corners, the degree of the corners, just tap onto the onto the artboard there, and you'll get some options here. So you can change the corner radius to whatever you like, and you'll see that it changes fairly smoothly. And you can get as radical as you like, but I think in the end you'll just end up with a circle. So there you go. There are some options there for that shape. Then there's the ellipse tool, and that's this one here. I'll get another color for that. And once again, with the ellipse tool, you can hold the shift key down and get a perfect circle. And then we have the polygon tool, and I think the default value for a polygon is a hexagon. But once again, if you tap on the artboard, you'll get these options, and you can choose how many sides you'd like your polygon to have. We have a 9-sided one. And of course, if you want a triangle, you'll just type in 3 and get a triangle for a 3-sided polygon. If you type in 4, of course you'll get a square. But you don't really need to do that because we've got other options for making a square. But you can have as many sides as you like there. So there are you can create some interesting shapes using that tool. Then there's the star shape, and I've got a whole video on how to use the star shape, so I won't go into that here, but just briefly, you can tap and get the options, and you can decide how many points you want your star to have in using that option box. Of course, you can click and drag as well. And if you move these other options around, you'll find you get a variety of different effects as well. You see this one. When these two are so close together, it looks more like a circle, and when they're a long way away, you get a much more pointy star. It's starting to get a bit small, isn't it? There we go. Alright, and then we have this lens flare tool, which I think that we won't use throughout this course. I do want to open up the possibilities of you creating your own shapes, so moving away from these standard shapes in Illustrator and using the pencil and the pen tool to create some interesting shapes. You can also use the line tool, which is this one here. And with the line tool you can just create lines, and of course you'll need to use your stroke palette if you want to see the line that you're creating. And you can affect the color this way. There we go. And oops, naturally you can have any thickness that you like. And I've also created another video on how to use the stroke palette creatively. So the star video and the stroke video will give you much more information on how you can be creative with those two tools. Now with the pencil tool, which is this one here, you can create your own interesting shapes, and these are the type of shapes that I call boubas. And right now it's stroked. I'm going to switch that around. So we've got it filled there. And these boubas, you can make them any way you like. Just have to make sure that the ends join. And you can be, of course, as creative as you want with them. And you'll find that they will, you can move them around, or you can change the shape after you've drawn them. So once you've drawn the shape, if you don't like what it looks like, you can just redraw it and it'll change as you're drawing. You see. And you can also use the smooth tool function under the pencil. So click and hold on the pencil tool and you'll get the smooth tool. And that just smooths the lines out if you want to create a more smooth line. And if while the pencil tool is selected, you can just click on the artboard. Oops. No, sorry, you click on the tool. Yes. And you get some options there. So you can adjust the smoothness and the fidelity by changing these options as well. They're fun to play with. Okay, so that's creating boubas with a pencil tool. You can also create kikis, which are sharp shapes, with the pen tool. So this is the pen tool up here, and you have some options underneath the pen tool there that you can play with. Now, the pen tool is great for creating these kind of kiki shapes with sharp edges, and it makes a great alternative to a star shape. If you really want a star shape, but you don't want to use a standard star, then you can just create your own. And of course, with any of these, you can always just manipulate the shape by picking up one of the anchor points. You see here, now we're getting a round shape up here. And if you don't want a round shape, under the pen tool, just you click on this convert anchor point tool, and that will convert a round anchor point to a sharp anchor point. So now all of these anchor points are sharp again. And you can move them around, click them up, click on the anchor points and move them to individualize that shape even further. So there are a lot of options there. I'd really like to see you using kikis and boubas in your work, because they show me that you're really thinking about what you're drawing, and that you're taking responsibility for the shapes that you are creating. And of course you can combine the two, so I'll just show you an example of that. Say you decide to draw a kiki, but you want some kind of bouba elements to it. You can go ahead, and while that is selected, click on the pencil tool and then add some pencil lines to your kiki, so that now it becomes a kikuba? I'm not sure. If you don't like it, you just undo it using Ctrl-Z. And there you go. Now isn't that an interesting shape? Okay, so I hope you'll all have fun with those shapes, and of course there are still many more options there, but that's just to get you started.